In the winter of 1882, a 22-year-old woman named Margaret Sullivan was admitted to the Trudeau Sanatorium in Saranac Lake, New York. She was coughing blood. Her lungs were filling with the bacterial infection that had killed her mother 3 years earlier, and it was now killing 1 in 7 Americans every year. The doctors at Trudeau had no antibiotics. Streptomycin would not be discovered for another 62 years. What they had was rest, fresh mountain air, beef broth, cod liver oil, and one specific plant remedy that had been used against this disease for 1,800 years. The remedy was a tea brewed from the dried leaves and yellow flowers of a tall, fuzzy plant that grew along every roadside in upstate New York. The Trudeau staff harvested it themselves from the fields outside the sanatorium walls. They steeped it in boiling water, strained it through cheesecloth, and gave it to patients 3 times a day to soothe the inflamed bronchial tissue and help them clear the bloody mucus from their lungs. Margaret Sullivan survived. She was discharged in the spring of 1884 and lived another 47 years. The plant that helped her survive grows along the same American roadsides today. It produces a yellow flower spike that can reach 10 feet tall by the end of its second summer. The leaves are soft and silver green, covered in fine hairs that feel like felt. You have driven past it 10,000 times. Hippocrates prescribed it 2,400 years ago. The Greek physician Dioscorides catalogued it in the 1st century AD as a remedy for lung disease. Nicholas Culpeper's 1653 English herbal recommended it for every respiratory ailment known to medicine. The Cherokee, Mohegan, Menominee, Penobscot, and Coast Salish all used it. American settlers carried the seeds across the continent. The U.S. Pharmacopoeia listed it as an official medicine. Today, the global market for prescription respiratory inhalers is worth billions of dollars per year. The active ingredient in the most common rescue inhaler, albuterol, is a synthetic chemical patented in 1966. The plant Margaret Sullivan was given is completely free. Almost no American doctor has ever recommended it. This is the story of Mullein, the lungwort, the Quaker's rouge, the Aaron's rod. The plant that helped humanity breathe for 2,400 years, growing in plain sight in the country that has forgotten its name. The archive opens in the 1st century AD. The Greek military physician Pedanius Dioscorides, traveling with the Roman army across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, compiles De Materia Medica, the pharmaceutical reference text that will dominate Western medicine for the next 1,500 years. In Book 4, he describes a tall, yellow-flowered plant he calls phlomos. He prescribes the leaves and flowers for lung disorders, persistent coughs, asthma, and what he calls the spitting of blood. That last symptom is what 19th century Americans would call consumption, and what modern doctors call pulmonary tuberculosis. The plant Dioscorides was describing is Verbascum thapsus, the common mullein. By the 4th century AD, Roman cattlemen across Europe were using it to treat respiratory disease in their cows. The English nickname bullock's lungwort dates from this period. The plant became so closely associated with respiratory medicine that medieval European healers carried dried mullein leaves, the way modern medics carry epinephrine. In the 1653 publication of The Complete Herbal, the English botanist Nicholas Culpeper writes that mullein is of a peculiar property to ease the chest of all manner of phlegmatic and rheumatic distempers. Across the Atlantic in the same century, mullein was already established in North America. European colonists brought the seeds. Native American tribes immediately recognized the medicine. The Cherokee brewed the leaves into tea for coughs and asthma. The Mohegan dried the leaves and smoked them in clay pipes for chest congestion, a practice still preserved in modern herbal smoking blends. The Menominee, the forest Potawatomi, and the Penobscot all used the smoke from smoldering mullein leaves to relieve asthma attacks. The Navajo and the Coast Salish included it in healing ceremonies. By 1700, mullein was naturalized across every state east of the Mississippi. In the 19th century, as American cities filled with immigrants and industrial pollution, tuberculosis became the single largest cause of death in the United States. By 1880, 1 in 7 Americans was dying of consumption. The disease attacked the lungs slowly, over months and years, and there was no cure. Sanatoriums opened across the country. The most famous was the Adirondack Cottage Sanitarium, founded in 1885 by Dr. Edward Livingston Trudeau in Saranac Lake, New York. Trudeau's protocol included sunlight, mountain air, a high-fat diet, and respiratory herbs. Mullein was a staple. The dried leaves were brewed into tea and given to patients 3 times a day. The mechanism, which would not be understood for another 80 years, is that the saponins in mullein leaf physically thin and mobilize the thick mucus produced by infected bronchial tissue, while the mucilage coats and soothes the inflamed mucous membranes. The verbascoside in the flowers reduces inflammation through the same biochemical pathway that modern corticosteroid inhalers target. By the early 20th century, mullein was an official drug. It was listed in the United States Pharmacopoeia, the legal reference book that defined what American doctors could prescribe. It was listed in the British Pharmacopoeia, the German Pharmacopoeia, and the French Codex. Every doctor trained before 1920 knew it. Then, in 1910, an American educator named Abraham Flexner published a report that would change Western medicine forever. The Flexner Report was commissioned by the Carnegie Foundation and the Rockefeller-Funded to evaluate the state of American medical education. Flexner visited 155 medical schools and concluded that most of them were inadequate. His recommendations reshaped American medicine. Schools that taught herbal medicine, homeopathy, eclectic medicine, or any approach not based on pharmaceutical chemistry were closed or defunded. By 1920, the number of American medical schools had been cut nearly in half. The schools that survived were the ones that taught the new pharmaceutical model. The Rockefeller Foundation, whose Standard Oil holdings produced the petroleum derivatives used to synthesize the new drugs, funded the survivors directly. Mullein was removed from the United States Pharmacopoeia. It became, officially, not a drug. American doctors stopped learning about it. American pharmacists stopped stocking it. By 1940, 2 generations of physicians had been trained to consider plant medicine the practice of country doctors and superstitious folk healers. In 1944, streptomycin was discovered. By 1947, it was being mass-produced. Tuberculosis, the disease that had killed Margaret Sullivan's mother and 1 million other Americans a year, became a curable condition. Mullein was no longer needed, but asthma, bronchitis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and respiratory infection were still everywhere. Smoking had created a generation of damaged lungs. Industrial pollution had created another: coal dust, asbestos, urban smog. By the 1960s, American emergency rooms were filling with people who could not breathe. In 1966, a research team at Allen and Hanbury's, a British pharmaceutical subsidiary of Glaxo, synthesized a chemical called salbutamol. Marketed in the United States as albuterol, it was a beta-2 adrenergic receptor agonist that relaxed the smooth muscle around the bronchial tubes in seconds. The FDA approved it in 1981. By the 1990s, it was the standard rescue medication for asthma worldwide. The patented brand name was Ventolin. Today, the global bronchodilator market is worth $23.64 billion per year and projected to reach $32.94 billion by 2034. Albuterol alone generates $4.59 billion annually. The combined market for asthma and COPD therapeutics is $92.3 billion and projected to reach $155.25 billion by 2030. GlaxoSmithKline, AstraZeneca, Teva Pharmaceuticals, Merck, and Boehringer Ingelheim divide this market between them. A single Ventolin inhaler, before insurance, retails in the United States for between $50 and $80. A typical asthmatic patient uses 12 to 24 inhalers per year, an annual cost of $600 to nearly $2,000. The patent on the original formulation expired in the early 2010s, allowing generic competition, but the price remains expensive because the pharmaceutical industry has continuously developed new combination inhalers that pair albuterol with corticosteroids and reset the patent clock. The plant that produces the same expectorant action mechanically cannot be patented. In 2010, a research team led by Carla Speranza at the University of Naples Federico II published a study in the journal Comparative Biochemistry and Physiology, examining the anti-inflammatory action of verbascoside, the principal active compound in mullein flowers. They reproduced an inflammatory state in human leukemia cells, then treated the cells with verbascoside. The compound significantly reduced the expression and activity of inducible nitric oxide synthase, the same inflammatory enzyme that modern corticosteroid asthma medications target. It reduced the production of superoxide free radicals. The mechanism was identical to anti-inflammatory pharmaceutical action. In 2019, a Spanish research team led by Alejandra González at the University of Salamanca tested standardized mullein extract on guinea pig tracheal tissue. At a concentration of 100 micrograms per milliliter, the extract produced significant airway relaxation. The mechanism was bronchodilatory, the same physical effect that albuterol produces. In 2021, an Iranian clinical trial led by Mohammed Jahan tested mullein syrup against placebo in 40 children with persistent cough. After 7 days, the mullein group reported 60% greater symptom reduction. The result was statistically significant. The German Commission E, the European regulatory body that evaluated herbal medicines for the German government for over 2 decades, approved mullein flower in 1990 for the treatment of respiratory catarrh. This is one of the most rigorous herbal medicine approvals in Western regulatory history. The FDA has never issued any equivalent recognition. In the United States, mullein remains classified as a dietary supplement. Producers cannot legally make any medical claim about it, but the medicine is still there. It is free for the cutting. You can identify mullein anywhere in America from June through September. In the first year, it grows as a low rosette of large, soft, silver-green leaves. The leaves feel like felt or velvet. They are covered in fine hairs that catch the light. In the second year, the plant sends up a single tall flowering stalk that can reach 6 to 10 feet, covered in small yellow flowers with 5 petals. It grows in disturbed soil along highways, railroad tracks, abandoned lots, and field edges. It thrives in poor soil, and it needs no water. A single mature plant produces over 200,000 seeds. Harvest the leaves in the first year, before the plant flowers, when the medicinal compounds are concentrated. Choose plants growing well away from roadsides and farm fields, since the felted leaves trap dust and chemical residue. Cut the leaves in the morning after the dew has dried. Hang them in small bunches in a dark, well-ventilated space for 2 weeks until they are completely dry and crumble easily. For respiratory tea, use 1 teaspoon of dried mullein leaf per cup of boiling water. Steep for 10 minutes. Strain the tea through a coffee filter or fine cheesecloth because the small hairs from the leaves can irritate the throat if not removed. Drink up to 3 cups per day during respiratory illness. The yellow flowers, harvested in the second year, are even more medicinally valuable than the leaves. They are traditionally infused in olive oil for 2 weeks in a sunny window, then strained. The infused oil is the most effective traditional remedy for ear infection, applied a few drops at a time directly into the affected ear. Margaret Sullivan walked out of the Trudeau Sanatorium in the spring of 1884 and lived to be 70 years old. The doctors who saved her life were trained in a medical tradition that recognized plants as medicine. That tradition was systematically dismantled between 1910 and 1940. The plant that helped her breathe still grows along every roadside in upstate New York. The bronchodilator industry will earn $32 billion next year. The plant grows free in the ditch outside your driveway. We did not lose Mullein, we just stopped looking down. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault and hit the notification bell. Every like and every share preserves what they tried to erase. The next vault opens soon.